What if I told you that Charles Leclerc has just discovered something in the data that could completely change his role within Ferrari this season? Because we're not talking about a simple difference in performance. We're talking about understanding why Lewis Hamilton, in just his second race, is already one step ahead with the same car. What exactly did Leclerc see in that telemetry that has set off all the alarms within the team? And why could this mark a before and after in Ferrari's internal struggle? It all really starts after the race in China. Not on the track, not in the interviews, not in the podium celebrations, but in that silent moment where the drivers face the absolute truth, the data. Charles Leclerc arrives with a clear, almost instinctive feeling that something is not quite right. He has been there, he has competed, he has squeezed the car, but still Lewis Hamilton has finished ahead and not by chance. Ferrari, like any elite team, breaks down each lap into hundreds of variables. Braking, lines, use of the accelerator, energy management. Everything is recorded. And that is where Leclerc begins to delve deeper. He doesn't look for excuses, he doesn't look for external culprits. Look for answers. Because he knows that the car is competitive, he knows that the potential is there, but he also understands that Hamilton has found something that he has not yet mastered. When you start comparing the laps, the first impact is not immediate. There is not a huge difference in a single point. There is no corner where you lose half a second. It's something more subtle, but much more dangerous. It is a sum of small details perfectly executed by Hamilton. A constant precision that is repeated in each sector, in each lap, in each phase of driving. And then comes the key moment. Leclerc stops in the long corners of Shanghai, especially in that technical sector where the car requires absolute balance. There he discovers that Hamilton not only enters differently, but understands the curve differently. Reduce earlier, prepare the car in advance. Control the weight transfer with a smoothness that allows you to maintain stability at the most critical point of the turn. This has a direct consequence. While Leclerc struggles to keep the front axle under control and avoid losing grip, Hamilton is already thinking about the start. You are already optimizing traction. He is already building the next phase of the return. And that's where the real difference appears. Not at the entrance, not at the apex, but in how each curve connects to the next. But the most disturbing thing for Leclerc is not just what he sees. It's what he can't immediately replicate. Because these details do not depend solely on changing a setting or adjusting a parameter. They depend on trust, adaptation, total understanding of the car. And Hamilton, in just 2 races, has already reached a level of synchronization with the SF26 that breaks all expectations within the team. Ferrari then begins to move in a very clear direction. The internal speech changes. It's no longer just about evolving the car, but about understanding what Hamilton is doing to extract that extra performance. And, more importantly, how they can translate that knowledge to the other side of the garage. Because the reality is evident. If one of the 2 pilots has found the way, the other cannot be left behind. This is the starting point of the conflict. It is not an open rivalry, it is not an internal war. Yet. But it is a real, measurable difference visible in the data. A difference that Leclerc has discovered for himself and that now forces him to go one step further. Because in Formula 1, understanding the car before your teammate is not an advantage. It is a warning. This is where everything starts to escalate. Because it is one thing to detect differences in driving, but another very different thing is to understand the real impact that these differences are having within the team. And that is exactly what is beginning to worry Ferrari after Leclerc's analysis. It's no longer just about how Hamilton takes corners or manages traction. Now the focus shifts to something even more decisive. The total management of the lap, especially in the use of the hybrid system and the construction of pace. Leclerc continues to delve deeper into the data, and there he finds another pattern that he had not noticed on the track. While he presents a telemetry with spikes, with moments of aggressiveness followed by small losses, Hamilton shows a much cleaner, much more constant line. It is a difference that is not obvious on an isolated lap, but that in a long run becomes a brutal advantage. And here appears one of the most critical points, the use of the hybrid system. Because Hamilton isn't simply accelerating more or braking better, he's playing with energy in a much smarter way. It sacrifices performance in areas where it's not key to accumulating battery, and then releases it exactly in the moments where it really makes a difference. Especially at the start of the long Shanghai straight and in the final stretch of the return. This creates a very dangerous illusion. From the outside, it seems that both drivers are at similar levels. There is no overwhelming visual difference. But when Ferrari analyzes the sectors, when it breaks down each partial, Hamilton begins to systematically appear ahead in key points. Not because it goes further to the limit, but because it is optimizing each phase with surgical precision. For Leclerc, this represents a much more complex problem than it seems, because it's not something you can correct by simply changing your style from session to session. He is still in the process of adapting to the behavior of the SF26 in real race conditions: degradation, side wind, track evolution, while Hamilton has already found a much more stable operating window. And this is where the pressure really starts to build. Because within Ferrari they are no longer just analyzing the car, they are analyzing their own drivers. They are seeing that Hamilton has not only adapted quickly, but is setting an internal benchmark. A reference that forces the entire team to rethink how they are working, how they are setting up the car, and, above all, how they can replicate that performance on the other side of the garage. The most delicate thing about all this is that it completely changes the narrative. Just a few weeks ago, Leclerc was the team's natural point of reference, the driver who understood the Ferrari's DNA better than anyone. But now, with only 2 races played, Hamilton is beginning to occupy that place from data, from pure performance, from execution. And this is where everything ends up falling into place. And at the same time, where everything becomes much more uncomfortable inside Ferrari. Because after analyzing each curve, each sector, each energy use, the conclusion no longer leaves room for doubt. Hamilton is not only performing better. Hamilton is understanding the car at a level that, right now, Leclerc has not reached. This is the real turning point. Because in modern Formula 1, when 2 drivers have the same car, the difference is not measured in pure talent. It is measured in who manages to adapt first, in who deciphers the secrets of the car first. And in China, all the data points in one very clear direction. Hamilton has taken that step before. Ferrari then begins to face a reality that they did not expect so early in the season. Hamilton's signing was not just a media gamble, nor a long-term play. It is having an immediate impact on the team's performance. And not only that, it is redefining the internal hierarchy in a silent way, but totally evident in the numbers. For Leclerc, this completely changes the scenario. It is no longer just the driver who leads the project, who leads the way, who understands the car better than anyone. Now he has a teammate in front of him who, in a matter of 2 races, has set a higher benchmark. And that forces him to react. Not tomorrow, not in a few weeks, now. Because the biggest problem is not having lost a podium. The real problem is understanding why you lost it, and knowing that the answer lies within the garage itself. It's in the data. It's in the telemetry. He has a driving style that, for the moment, is making a difference. And this is where the story gets even more interesting. Because Ferrari has already identified the path. You know what's working, you know where the key to performance is. But now you need to move it. He needs both drivers to be at that same level if they want to fight for victories consistently. The big question is whether Leclerc will be able to do it in time. Whether he will be able to adapt, to reinterpret his way of driving, to find that same connection with the SF26 that Hamilton seems to have achieved so quickly. Because if he doesn't succeed, this can stop being a simple technical difference and become something much bigger within Ferrari. And so, without noise, without controversy, without explosive statements, a simple review of data after China has opened one of the most important stories of the season. It's not just an analysis. It's not just telemetry. It is the beginning of an internal battle that can define who leads Ferrari in this new era. And in the end, it all comes down to a reality that never fails in Formula 1. The data doesn't lie. And what Charles Leclerc has seen after the Chinese Grand Prix is not a coincidence. It is not a specific error. It is not something that can be ignored. It is a clear, direct, and forceful signal that something within Ferrari has changed sooner than expected. Because Hamilton has not only arrived at Ferrari, he has arrived understanding how to make the car work in real racing conditions. He has found that balance between aggressiveness and control, between performance and management, between pure speed and efficiency that makes the difference at this level. And he has done it in record time. Leclerc, for his part, is not failing. It is not a question of lack of talent or level. It's just that, at this point, it's one step behind in that full connection to SF26. And in a sport where the differences are minimal, being one step behind is everything. The most important thing in this story is not what has already happened, but what is coming from now on. Because Ferrari has 2 very clear paths. Either it manages to align its 2 drivers at that level of performance that Hamilton has demonstrated, or it will face an internal dynamic where one sets the pace, and the other tries to catch up. And that is where everything is defined. Because if Leclerc can adapt, if he can absorb what he has seen in that data and transform it into performance on the track, Ferrari can become an unstoppable force. But if you don't, this difference that was born quietly in China can grow race after race until it becomes a completely established hierarchy within the team. So the big question is no longer what Leclerc discovered. That is already clear. The real question is, what are you going to do with that information? Because in Formula One, understanding the problem is only the first step. What really defines a driver is how he responds when he knows exactly where he is losing. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.